Hi, I'm Beth. Thank you for joining me today in my basement workout room. This practice is designed as a noontime practice, an afternoon practice, a midday practice. A practice that you can take a break in the middle of your day to uplift your energy, to revive a little bit. It's part of a 3-part series. I've already filmed the first, that was a morning practice, and you can see that right up here. And then I'll also be filming an evening practice that you could do after this one if you like. Now, because this practice is designed to help make you more alert and build your energy, we're going to weave in some balance work, and it will be mostly standing. However, we will start where we ended the last practice, and that is coming to a child's position. So in child's pose, you start seated on your heels. It's fine for your hips to lift up. Widen your knees as much as is comfortable for you. Fold right at the hip crease, walking your hands out. And you see my hips are lifting. Your hips might come in the air like that. You can take more of a puppy pose. That works fine. You can rest your head on your crossed arms. You can allow your hips to come back if that feels comfortable. Simply find some version of this little resting pose where you can take maybe 3 breaths to tune in and start your practice. And then keeping your hips in whatever position they're in, begin to walk your hands toward me, toward the camera. Stretch your arm long in the direction that you're going. Send the opposite hip away and get a nice long side stretch. Take a breath here and then walk your hands around in the other direction. So now you can see my left arm is reaching further away. I'm going to try to send my left hip back in the opposite direction, and then I can feel a stretch really from my armpit all the way down to my left hip. And then as you're ready, come back through center. Hands come under the shoulders, knees are under the hips. Adjust your hands and knees to wherever they're comfortable, and a few cat-cows. So breathing in, allowing your back to curve like a hammock shape as your chest comes forward, looking forward. Exhaling, forming more of an arch shape with the back as the chin tucks, the tailbone tucks. And a few times like this at whatever your pace or depth works for you. You might linger in one of these poses if maybe this feels good, and you can move it around any way that feels nice. This is simply a warm-up for your spine, especially if you've been seated when you do this practice. Getting it to move around can feel really nice. And come back in center. You might want to move your knees a little closer together. Send your heels toward the screen and walk your hands a little bit in that direction. So this is similar to what we did in child's pose, where you can feel yourself contracting the one side of the body and then stretching and opening the other side. And then shifting, hands come back to center. Feet, heels, calves go to the other side. They might even come off your mat a little bit. Hands walk in that direction. And this is like a little crescent shape on your side body. I love these side body stretches because I think it's not a direction we tend to go in our daily lives. They're a really nice way to move the spine. Okay, back through center. Breathe in, come into your cat stretch once again. So big arch in your back. And as you exhale, start to slide forward, come down on your forearms, lowering your body so that you come into a little sphinx stretch. This is more of a gentle back bend. If it doesn't feel that way to you, adjust your hands forward, maybe send your hips back a little bit. But keep it active, so it feels if you're pulling your chest forward through your upper arms. And then on your next exhale, slide your hands back in, push yourself back up into all fours, back up into a cat pose. next breath, come down into your cow. And then tuck our toes, walk the hands forward a little bit, lift the knees and push back into downward facing dog. This is our only downward facing dog, so make it be whatever you want it to be. Maybe you want yours to be wide feet. Perhaps you want to have a little short dog today. Maybe your dog looks like a child's pose. So remember, this is always your practice, always whatever you want it to be. You get to choose. If you're in dog, you have the choice to walk your dog a little bit if that feels good. And then we'll either walk the feet to the hands or the hands to the feet, maybe a little bit of both. Sometimes I meet up in the middle. And as you get there, I'm going to switch around to face front. Bend the knees a lot so that you have some support. With my bent knees, my hands reach the floor. Maybe yours reach the top of your thigh. Wherever you are, you can be here. This is sometimes called coach pose. I like this pose. Have some support. And then hands either on the floor or the tops of your thighs or your shins. Come a little bit up to a halfway lift. So the halfway lift, your back comes up so it's more flat. Your spine's going to have curves, but the back of your back appears flat, or the top of your back. Exhale and release. And then big inhale in as you lift all the way up to a tall mountain pose, extended mountain. Exhale, release back down. This standing pose is mountain pose, Tadasana. It's where we stand in our firm ground with our feet somewhere under our hips. That might be closer, that might be wider. It's a firm stance. Find that firm stance for you. Especially when we add in a little bit of a balance work to this practice, we want to start with a really firm stance. Look down at your toes for a second, and if you can spread them as wide as you can. Mine are not very spready, but spready toes are a really good yoga thing. And then allow them to come back. Allow your toes to help the support of your feet. Take a breath in, reach up with your arms, feel your shoulder blades slide out around to the sides and up as they support the reach of your arms up overhead. This is extended mountain, and you can have your palms facing each other or facing front. And then if you're good here, you can try to start adding a little bit of a balance by lifting your heels, coming onto the ball of your feet. So an even taller mountain, or maybe like a little tree that sways a bit in the wind, it's definitely okay to sway, to move in our balance poses. That's part of the point, is allowing ourselves to rebalance even when we get thrown off balance like I am. One more breath. And as you exhale, you can send the arms down, send the heels down. Readjust your feet, find a firm position of your feet if you lost it. And we're going to go back to kind of that mini squat or a coach pose, whatever you want to call it, by starting to bend the knees and sending the hips back right from the hip crease. So we're not going to come forward. We're going to do that in a few minutes. But right now we're sending the hips back. It's fine to rest the hands right on the top of the thighs. And then I said a few minutes, but we're actually going to do it now. Then we're going to continue to fold from the hip crease. Bend the knees as much as you need to slide the hands, coming back into somewhere about that back parallel to the floor position. It doesn't have to go all the way down. Once you're here, keep one hand on the top of your thigh. So left hand on left thigh, right hand to right hip, and start to open up in a little twist. Draw your shoulder blades together on your back, opening up to your right. Maybe your right leg starts to straighten a little bit more as you do that. Breathing in your twist, keeping your body long from the tailbone to the top of your head, even as you're twisting around your spine, around your rib cage. Exhale, come back to your little mini forward fold. If you need to rest, stand up a little, you can. We're going to go to the other side. So left hand to left hip, start turning toward your left. Send the elbow back, send the shoulder blade back. Maybe straighten your left leg a little bit in this turn. Your right hand can stay on the right thigh for support. If you have more room here, you can reach the floor. If you have a chair in front of you, a little block, any of those options are great. We're looking for a feeling of twist around the spine. We're not looking for a certain look to the posture. And then exhale, back around to front, press into your feet. We call this a root to rise back up to your mountain pose. Breath here. Always take the time to make sure that you're breathing. Sometimes we can hold our breath in the poses, and we want to make sure that we're getting good, full breaths. That will help with your energy levels too. So we're going to do a little bit of a leg swing. Send your weight to one foot, maybe send your weight on the right. So you're going to balance all your weight on your right foot. Lift your left a little bit off the ground and begin to swing it forward and back. If you'd like to swing your arms, that might help or it might throw you more off balance. You can see how that works for you. And then a little bit of a side to side, just when you got the rhythm there, moving around a different direction. And it's fine to touch down at any time. Again, when we're trying balance, we don't want to frustrate ourselves. We want to challenge ourselves and make it a little difficult. And touching down just means that sometimes you're making it a little difficult for yourself. We definitely don't want to fall over. You can go in kind of a random pattern if you like. With the legs, with the arms, you can always keep your arms and your hips the whole time. A little bit of a warming up in the outer hip. Let that leg float down. Always find your mountain pose in between. Now the weight settles into your left foot. Lift your right, just lift it a little bit. It doesn't have to come high. Start slow, maybe small with the swings as you find your balance on this side. See if you want to add the arms. These kind of full body movements can feel really good in the middle of the day. And just feel sort of shaking ourselves out, getting the energy to flow through the body, and challenging our mind a little bit too with that balance. So that's where we bring the mind-body aspect into it. Then go forward and back, side to side, maybe a little circle, and then settle back down. When you refine your mountain pose, you also give your mind a chance to connect with that movement that you just did and look at how's it feel? What am I seeing? What changes am I noticing? A little bit more balance. This time we're going to lift one knee. So again, I'm going to make sure my right foot is planted firmly, nice spready toes if I can, and I'll start to lift the left. It does not have to come high. You can stabilize with the left hand on the left thigh, and maybe just swing the foot back and forth a little bit. See how that feels. Loosen up the knee joint. Find a place where you're stable with your knee hovering. Touch down at any time. We're going to send the foot back into a mini crescent. So you might like the hands on the hips. You might like them at heart center, maybe in front of you. I encourage you to put your hands wherever it helps you the most with stability. Sometimes weighting them on my hips helps me feel a little grounded in my lower half. So on your next breath, send the foot back, taking a moderate size step behind you. This does not have to be your biggest lunge ever, your biggest crescent, enough so that your hips still face forward. Once you get here, if you'd like to lift your arms overhead in crescent pose, you can. You can keep them by your hips. You can take a little cactus. And then on your next breath, start to lean forward a little bit, enough so that you can return the weight to the front foot. Either drag or lift the back foot in, lifting the knee back up or keeping the foot down. And we'll do that 2 more times, a little bit more flowing. So breathe as you send the foot back. Maybe you bend your back knee a little bit. Maybe you send your arms overhead. On a breath, lean forward. Take the back knee, rise it back up. And one more time, send the foot back. Step it down. See if you can do that with a little bit of a grace rather than a thunk. Not that the thunk is a bad thing. It just shows that we're being a little bit more mindful, staying a little bit more in control. And then exhale, release. Shake the hips out, and you probably really feel that in your opposite hip. Give it a little hit and a little gratitude for working. And then send the weight into your left foot. Remember to spread the toes. My toes on this foot do not spread as much at all, but I try. Sometimes just thinking about it can assist with that. Just that idea, or even spreading the fingers at the same time, can help us get there eventually. This is also my more unsteady foot, as you'll see. A little bit of that knee swing. If any of these movements bring you pain, stop immediately. Sensation is okay, even strong sensation, but not sharp, painful sensations. Find your balance here. Choose the position of your arms, and then begin to send the foot back behind you. Touch the toes down, keeping the heel up if that works for you. Maybe bending the back knee a little bit, maybe arms overhead. And then moving with the breath, starting to lean forward. This helps put the weight back in the front foot. Take the weight off the back foot as you begin to step or slide forward, lifting the knee. Exhaling, sending the foot back. I like to move on the exhale, but you might find that moving on the inhale works better for you. Leaning forward. Remember, you can just sort of step slide or drag that foot in. You can keep it down or raise up the knee. Last time. Send the foot back. Step it down. Take your last crescent. And then lean forward. Step back forward. Maybe hover for a moment. And then see if with intention, you step this foot down and give the other side a little shake out, a little bit of love. All right, I said we were coming back to our chair pose. This is our chance to come back to chair. Remember, that has us folding right from the hip crease, of course from the knee joint as well, but we want to keep our knees kind of hovering over our feet, not coming too far out over our toes. That might be a little bit too much stress on your knees. And you can see what works for you. You can also see if doing more of a wide squat feels better for you. So as a reminder, in a functional practice, we are looking for a stretch. We are looking for a sensation. We are not looking for, can you look like someone on Instagram? If you do, great. But that's not the point, or that's not the point of how I teach anyway. All right, so from here, reach your fingers out toward me, stretching your arms, protracting your shoulders, so reaching your shoulder blades away from each other. I'm gonna step my feet a little bit closer together just because that felt more stable for me. And then see if you can reach forward with your fingers as you send your hips back a little bit more. And then we have the option of a little balance here, lifting the heels just like we did in our mountain pose, hovering in this little squatty chair. Exhale, send the heels down, stand all the way up, and we'll do one more version of that. That was pretty challenging. That's why I paused there. That wasn't my plan. I think I need a break. We'll do one more version of that chair. If you like the version we just did, stick right there. Again, it's plenty challenging, or we'll add one more element and you can play with that if you'd like. So again, sink back into your chair, reach toward me, send the hips back. Now your heels can stay down for this version, or they can again lift if you'd like. And this time we're going to fold over. This is called drinking bird. You can even put your hands together. Think about aiming your nose toward your fingers, folding from the hips as if you're a bird, dipping your nose, your beak into a bird bath, and then maybe sending your hands behind you like wings, or sometimes I think that my hands are getting sent behind me like a cape. Your choice. If your heels are lifted, you're welcome to set them down anytime this gets too intense or you're just done with it for whatever reason. And then when you're ready, begin to swing your arms back to the front as you lift up a little bit more. Send the heels down, rooting to rise. Tall mountain, and exhale. All right, beautiful. So now we have a little relief from some of that. We'll spread our legs wide. Take your legs wide, about your own leg length between your legs. That's sort of a good way to judge. The other way you can estimate is by lifting the arms and looking underneath your wrist. Is that where your ankles are? not for the look, but that's a way to get a feel. So start at those places and see if those positions feel right for your body. If not, you can adjust. We're going to come into a warrior two. So take your left foot out, spin it all the way out so the foot points the same direction as the long part of your mat, and right toes come in a little bit. Front knee bends so that you form, I always say a right angle. You can see, I don't have a right angle, right? But that's the idea, a right angle in the hip, in the knee joint, sorry, even if your thigh is not parallel with the floor. And then if you find yourself leaning forward, think about sending more weight over your back foot, especially the outer edge of your back foot. We're going to play with that even a little bit more in a minute. So warrior two is often done with the arms like this. You can see I'm leaving them right on my hips. You have the option of doing whatever you'd like. You can have your cactus version of warrior two. You can put them behind your arms. I'm being sneaky though. I'm leaving them at my hips because I'm going to add the option of a balance element, and this is where I tend to feel more stable. So the option of a balance element, again, weight in the back leg, is to lift the heel on the front foot. It's also going to challenge your calf muscles. And then you can stay wherever you were with your arms. Maybe reach out and T-shape arms and look over your middle finger. And then on an exhale, send the foot back, straighten that leg, reach up with the front arm, down with the back, reverse triangle pose. So we often do this as a reverse warrior. Sometimes I just like straightening the front leg and getting a little bit of a break there. And then exhale, come back up, turn the front toes so that they face a little bit more of a diagonal. Same thing with the back toes. And then we're going to bend the knee over the front foot, coming on the heel of the back. And this is sort of like a squat pose variation. You might feel really unsteady if you keep your unsteady, put your foot down and keep your foot down, or toes up, heel down. And then lean in the direction of your bent leg, so a little bit of a rainbow in the other direction. And now we switch the side stretch to this side, to your right side. And then as you exhale, send that foot back down, straighten both legs, and we'll repeat that whole series. So we'll turn the left toes back out, right toes in a little bit, bend the knee for our warrior two position. Hold for a breath in warrior two. And then straighten the front leg, lift the front arm as you arch back over the back leg, taking a stretch into the left side of your body. Exhale as you come back up, turn your front toes a little bit out more in a diagonal so that you can send your front knee over your front foot, and then turn your back toes out in a diagonal, come onto the heel of your back foot. If possible, lean in the opposite direction. Rainbow warrior. And exhale, push into both feet, send all 10 toes forward, stand up. And you can adjust and come a little bit closer for a moment. You know we have to switch to the other side, but simply rest. Now your standing pose might feel like a nice, well-deserved rest. And then when you're ready, take the feet back to whatever distance worked for you for the first side. Turn the toes of your right foot out so that they're pointing toward the short edge of your mat. Back toes in a little bit. Bend your front knee. Sit your pelvis down as much as works for you for today. Decide where your arms are going to go. Notice if you have a lot of weight in your front foot and see if you can send a little bit more out to your back foot. That might mean lifting the back thigh a little bit. That might mean focusing on the outer edge of your back foot. And if you have that nice firm back foot, see if you can lift the toes of your front. Holding however you like. Remembering to breathe. And then on the next breath, sending the heel back down to the floor. reversing into a reverse triangle with a straight front leg, energy and stretch along the side body, your right side. And exhale, coming up, sending your right toes out to the corner of your mat, turning your back foot out a little bit and coming onto the heel of the back foot if that works. And then reaching over. I keep my hand here to help stabilize a little bit as I lean in the other direction. And exhale, I'm going to place my back foot back down, push into both feet to stand up. I'll send my toes forward for a breath, and then we'll repeat that flow one more time. So toes out, front knee bends, back toes turn in a little bit. Warrior two, one breath, hands can go wherever. And on an exhale, lift the front arm, flipping the palm, straightening the front leg, reverse triangle. Exhaling, lifting back up, turning the front toes out to the corner, back toes out to the corners. You bend the front knee. This time the knee can come over the toes. Lift on the back ankle or the back heel. And I'm losing my balance. It's fine, right? I can just readjust. It's not a disaster to lose your balance. And then pushing to both feet, coming back up, turning your toes, and maybe finishing the sequence with a little bit of a standing wide-legged forward bend. You can stay right here. Your hands can stay on your thighs. Maybe you have room to reach down to the floor, and sometimes reaching the legs out further and bending the knees can help with that a little bit. And then when you're ready, I'm just going to drop my knees to the floor, and we're going to finish up with a couple more things, a little bit of a side plank series, and then a mini back bend and we'll be done. I'm going to come down lying on my side. If you want to mirror me, you can lie on your right side. Coming onto my forearm, bending my knees so that my feet are behind me. My legs are approximately a 90-degree angle at the knee. So already I'm working on this side of the body, the side that's facing the floor, so your right side. As I push into my forearm and elbow, I'm not slumped down like this. I'm pushing actively to get a stretch here. And if you like, and if it helps you feel more balanced, your top leg can be straight. Whichever feels better, bent knees, top leg straight. And then you can stay here, or if you want to see if it increases the stretch in your side body, I'm going to use my front hand as just a little support for a second. Place my right hand where my elbow was so that it can push me up further. Now this is more of a stretch to the side body. I like this because it's one way I can get into my pesky QL muscle, the quadratus lumborum. And I mentioned already that I really love side stretches. So you can repeat either of those two stretches, or you can take this more into some core work, kind of around the whole abdominal area, your oblique muscles. I'm going to start by coming back down to the forearm. And then from here, you have the option to lift the bottom hip off the floor. And your top hand can be on your hip. It can come into the air, overhead. And if you'd like, if you have one leg extended, you can extend the other leg in this position. Or you can also do it with bottom arm down in that position of a greater stretch here, lifting the hip. So this is a side plank variation. And again, same thing here. You have the option to do one leg, or if you'd like, lifting up onto your other leg, exhaling, setting it back down, and we'll shift and finish on the other side, or finish with the plank work on this side. So shifting your legs back around. Remember, starting in that bent leg position, coming down onto the forearm, pushing into the forearm so that you have a good stretch on the side. And sometimes moving the leg can help aid in that stretch, sending the heel, the top leg away from you if you weren't feeling the stretch already. You also have the option of placing the hand where the elbow was. Now, even though this looks like a more intense stretch, it may or may not be in your body. So that's why you have the choice of what you want to do. It might hurt your shoulder if you have shoulder pain or any shoulder issues, in which case, stay with the elbow. All right, I'm going to come back down to the elbow to show you those side plank variations. So first variation is to lift the hips up on the side and keep the top leg out long. Do whatever you want with your top arm, or if you'd like, you can send both legs out long. I have my legs staggered. You can always stack them this way. It's just going to be a little bit more tricky to balance that way. It's not my preferred way of doing it, maybe yours. And then last version, hand goes under the shoulder, lifting up to the side, lifting up your hip. So right now I've got my bottom knee that serves as a support. Still tons of challenge to my core. And I can vary where I put my arm and see how that feels. I could even open up like this. Or last version, if you want to try it, extending both legs out to either a staggered or a stacked position. And then taking the body down. All right, we're going to come onto our belly. I'm going to take my glasses off for a moment as we do work on our belly. Coming back to the Sphinx pose where we were earlier. So it might feel good to stretch out your back now. Maybe this one feels better than the one we did earlier after we've done some other work. And then allow your body to come down. You can rest. You can form a little diamond shape with your hands and rest your forehead on your hands. I'm going to look toward you. Bend your knees so that both feet face toward the ceiling. And from here, see if you can maybe lift your feet up a little higher so that your thighs maybe hover a little bit off the ground. They will not come far. Exhale, release that. Straighten your legs. Slide back into your Sphinx. Make sure that no part of your back is feeling that pain, that strong sensation, the strong, sharp sensation. That's what we don't want, that painful sensation. If everything is okay, you have the option of bending your knees here in your Sphinx pose. And then you have the option of trying to lift them a little bit here, using your hamstrings, the backs of your legs, your glutes to help with this action. One more breath. And exhale. Come all the way down. Roll onto your back. And we're going to end the practice in a rest. If you've already done the morning practice, you know that we started the morning practice with the feet wide, the knees resting toward each other. This is constructive rest. It's just a nice place to set your body up for a few breaths or a few moments of rest. The other option is to place the soles of your feet together. Allow your knees to come wide. Get more of a stretch along the inner thighs, the groin muscles. So whichever position works for you, stay there for a few more moments. I'm going to roll up to a seated position. But you can hear me just fine from your rest. And I really encourage rest. It's an important part of the practice, especially if this is a standalone practice for you today, then stay for a little bit longer and rest. If you choose to go to my evening practice or my night practice after this one, go right ahead. Once I have that ready, I'm going to send the link to that right up here for you. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope that the balance work and the other standing poses gave you a little bit of lift in this practice. Hope to see you again soon.